Hello, it's Phillip Taylor speaking from Richmond Green Chambers in London. Today I'm looking at a book which has come to us from Routledge. It's part of the Taylor and Francis group. This is a book about the judiciary fundamentally. It's debating judicial appointments in an age of diversity. And the book has been edited by two professors, Professor Gee and Professor Erika Rackley, and the illustrations have been done by Isobel Williams. The book's available as an ebook with a range of different digital formats. As I say, Routledge have taken it under its wing. It's a hardback book. We'll look at it in a minute. Let me give you the title. Elizabeth and I talked about this book, and we came up with a title for our review of this. Probably one of the most important pressing legal issues of our age as we enter the fourth industrial revolution. Still unprepared, because there are a lot of changes taking place at the moment, and one area which is of importance, of course, is the whole area of diversity and equality. Let's look at the book first of all. There's the front cover, and this is the illustration by Isobel. I like the illustration because I'll comment on that in a minute. You can see what it is there. There is the spine, and then there's some detail on the back. I've borrowed a little bit of the information from the back because this is a book which is edited by two people, so it's got contributions. If we go to the back of the book, you can see at the back there's an index, and there's the index there. The actual index is by page numbering, and then there are some appendices right at the back. You can see the index starts there. There is some footnoting, of course, all the way through. You can see some of the footnoting in the pages as I go back. There isn't paragraph numbering, but there are useful subheads. And of course you have the chapter heading and the name of the person who has written the actual chapter. There's the blurb about the book itself there, which is repeated partly on the back. Then there's the front page itself. Then you've got all of the details about Routledge and Taylor and Francis. Then you've got the contents, and the content section is the list of the chapters, and in addition to that you've got the names of the people who've written them. There are 15 chapters in total and 4 appendices. Then you've got a preface which is really explaining, and I'll mention that in a minute. It explains from the editors how this book arose, written in February 2017. I'm recording this in the autumn of 2017 when the book has come out. Those are the contributors, a list of them there, and of course over the page. A lot of people involved in this book. Then the first chapter is on an introduction by the two editors explaining the Judicial Appointments Commission's basic committee's first 10 years, and obviously the commission, not the committee, the first 10 years of its activities are set out there. And then we run through the book. And as you can see, there are quite a lot of footnotes to give you some help. It runs to approximately, how many pages? Yeah, 330, something like that. And there are, in fact, some important points. And I did mention the cover image. Appendix 4 explains a little bit more about that. So do have a look at that at your leisure. Now, what do we say about the book? Well, we say this. Equality as part of a general policy of diversity remains an outstanding and problematic topic for our times. And in this excellent book on judicial appointments, the subject matter is given the Routledge treatment by these two leading professors, that's Gee and Erika Rackley, arising from the international conference held in November 2015. Now, the visual illustration by Isobel Williams on the front cover is particularly striking, I thought, for the 3 main levels of the judiciary, and it's colour coded. As I say, you get a lot more explanation of that in Appendix 4. Now, the questions that are posed by the two professors are these, because this is a book which poses questions, because we really do need to see where we're going, if anywhere, with the issues that we're confronting. The first one: what should be the primary goals of a judicial appointment system, and how much weight should be placed on diversity in particular? Why is achieving a diverse judiciary across the UK taking so long? Is it time for positive action, and what role should the current judiciary play in the appointment of our future judges? So those are the questions. Not easy questions to answer, and we have all got, of course, our own ideas of the approach which should be adopted. The editors go on to state that there is broad agreement that diversity raises important questions for a legal system and its officials, but much less agreement about the full implications of recognising diversity as an important goal of the judicial appointments regime. That, of course, is the blurb and the basic stuff, but that's the mission statement. They also suggest that opinions differ, of course, for example, on the methods, forms, timing and motivations for judicial diversity. Too true, and of course the problem really is who's going to make the decision. It's the old question of who guards the guards to a certain extent, but you, I'm sure, are aware of that as the potential reader of the book. The subject, of course, will not go away and remains an uncomfortable reminder of how little progress has actually been made in the 21st century, at least so far. Having said that, there are changes afoot. The book arrives to mark the 10th anniversary of the creation of the Judicial Appointments Commission, that's JAC, in England and Wales, and the two professors have edited their work to cover comments from an array of talent: current and retired judges, civil servants, practitioners, current and former commissioners on the JAC, and leading academics from Australia, Canada, South Africa and across the United Kingdom. So you've got a wealth of experience coming forward. Now the purpose is, and again this is a quote as a mission statement again, to provide a timely and authoritative insight into past, current and future debates on the search for diversity in judicial appointments. For as they say, this is the age of diversity. Let's state that right at the beginning of the introduction, although don't hold your breath if you think there'll be any action soon. Ironically, of course, the editors do mention immediate change with announcements made in July 2017, just before the summer holidays, when Lady Hale was announced as becoming, and she now is, President of the United Kingdom Supreme Court. And Lady Black has become a Justice of that court, and Lady Justice Singh has been appointed to the Court of Appeal. Sadly, we still have a long way to go. Now, depending really on what you are researching, the 22 highly qualified experts who've come together to produce this work cover the following topics. That's a review of the role and responsibilities of appointments, commissions, assessment of the JAC's first 10 years, appointment to the UK Supreme Court, the pace of change, definitions of merit and diversity, mandatory retirement ages. That's a big one and has been cropped up again and again because it precludes people who may be very good candidates from certain posts because of age and so forth. Then the use of the ceiling quota and the appropriate role of judges and politicians in the appointments process. So you should find basically what you're looking for, and all of the basic controversial issues are actually there and covered. And I don't think I've seen a book really that does that in such a way, really to deal specifically with judicial appointments in this open manner. We've never really had this before, and I'm really grateful that we've got it. Now, as I say, you should be able to find what you're looking for. It's a good, well-structured book, very much in the house style of Routledge, and the book was published on the 11th of September. I'm recording this a month later, and it's available both as a book and an ebook. Let's just have a quick look at it again. Lovely front cover, nice visual, the spine and then the back. You can see I've borrowed a little bit of what's on the back, and actually in the book itself it's actually repeated on the front cover there. But I think it's important because it sets out the purpose. Now, just to remind you, I said about the index. Excuse me, there's the index of the back, and then there's the bit about the cover image. Don't judge a book by its cover is what Isobel says, but I do think it's rather an interesting pointer. I'm not going to give a spoiler on that, so do read it. Now at the front of the book, as I say, do look at the introduction, because that's when they start. This is the age of diversity. Yes, well, let's see how we go in the later parts of the 21st century. Just opening it in the middle. Diversity, transparency and inclusion. There we go. See, all words are there. And there's a lot of support, and I'm hoping that that support will lead to action. It looks like some of it is, because we are beginning to see some changes. Obviously people will say, well, very, very much later than planned, but at least there is some change. And I would say, as a barrister myself, that there are amongst our own ranks a very large number of extremely able people across the whole of the gender equality divide. Whatever pigeonhole you put people into, there are a lot of very good people out there. So there is no excuse to say that, oh, well, there are only a certain number of people who have that relevant ability, because I think the pool of talent has expanded, certainly with the changes in the way the bar school is run, the way that solicitors are now qualify and so forth. So I do think that there are very big changes ahead. This book is probably one of the most important ones in its field, because it's actually explaining for the first time how the system's working, and from that we can build up. So a great big thank you to Graham and Erika and all the people involved in this book. I found it a fascinating read, because like many people, I'm at the end of my career basically, but like many people, I had been very concerned at the way in which some of these appointments have been arrived at. And I'm very pleased to welcome Brenda Hale as the President of the Supreme Court. And I know a lot of other people would agree with that too. On that note, thank you to all. Bye-bye.